poor in spirit. It sees the brokenhearted. Oh my gosh, did I have a broken heart? And freedom for those who are being held captive. Wow. Yeah. That redemption fits us for his service. The redemption that he spoke of in Isaiah 61, it must have been really important to him because it was basically the first thing he read in the synagogue. He fulfilled that prophecy, and he let everybody know it. So I thought, well, if it's important to him, I think I'll let it be important to me. So he showed me reconciliation takes place when I recognize the freedom from that broken heart and being held captive. And I went, well, I don't really know what that means, Lord, but I'm going to trust you. Oh, wait a minute, no, I don't trust real easy. You probably know that about me. Now I'm talking to him. And so maybe you're just going to have to show me some more. And he did. When I first read this passage, I was a young mama who had little direction. You know, my days were filled with getting up in the morning, changing diapers, feeding, changing diapers, feeding, changing diapers, feeding. This book gave me direction, probably for the first time in my life. I knew I walked with a broken heart, crushed by the schemes of the enemy. What was I to do with this information? So one day while they were napping, thank you, Jesus, I read that again, and I sarcastically said, yeah, right, so I just guess I'm going to need a new heart. And there was this very small, very distinct yes. I went, wow, he talks. He talks to me. And I realized that from my concordance, I figured out that these two passages in Isaiah and Luke were prophecy. And I went, wow. So that's how he could fulfill the prophecy. So the prophecy was telling of the time it would be fulfilled. So this little mama went back to the cross. Now, if you remember the last time I spoke, I told you the ins and outs of me with the cross issue, because my whole life I was raised with that crucifix staring me in the eye in every room but the bathroom. And it wasn't a comfort because the crucifix is different than the cross. It's a portrayal of Jesus on the cross. And my whole life he was on the cross. See, that picture was ingrained in my mindset. And then when I got saved and recognized that that was different, and this is what happened on the cross, and that he wasn't there anymore, and that's why we celebrate Easter, I went, oh, well, look at that. So let me tell you, the woe is me factor fades when I stand before the cross. And that was my whole life, was woe is me. Recognizing the poison of sin in that cup he drank gave me hope. The exchange was Jesus taking my fear and reminding me of my faith. And I could believe. Isn't that something? He reminded me the cross was enough. That if I never got any further in this huge book, that if I recognized and understood the cross and everything came from that, I was home free. I was good to go. So one day while I was out in the neighborhood with the boys, this neighbor approached me and said, "Ev, how come you're so happy?" And I said, "Well, I am." She said, "Yeah, you just are smiling all the time." I went, "Oh, I think it's because I met Jesus." Oh. Backing up, And I said, "But the good thing about all of that is that it's not that I met him, it's that he knew me. And he knows me. I mean, is that amazing? He knows me." And of course, she's still backing up. And I just went on my way. And the next day, couple of days, there's this knock on my front door. And she said, "Ev?" I said, "Yeah? Do you think he knows me?" And I went, "Oh, I don't know, let's find out." So it kind of went around the neighborhood, and people got saved. I never said a word. I mean, that was basically all I said. I didn't have any scripture to give them. Didn't really have a lot of information about the Word of God. I knew about the cross. I knew about the prophecy. I knew Jesus knew me. Hey, guys, that was enough. All these people got saved. So all of a sudden, they're all in my kitchen. And I'm busy. I have 2 babies. And I said, "Well, let's do this. Let's just meet once a week. We'll have coffee and we'll talk." Oh, okay. So, we decided that that's what we were going to do. We met for a year and knew nothing. But we shared, we cried, we went back to Isaiah 61 over and over. And then it brought us with my concordance, remember? I bought that concordance. I started to recognize, oh, this is a valuable tool. I can find other scripture about that in this, and then you go back to the Bible and you can read about it. Well, isn't this the smartest thing they thought of? This is very cool. So, the cross opened the doors and set me free. He told me to come out from those prison doors, that I was no longer poor, but rich in his love. That is what the cross did for me. It gave me breath to believe. I mean, I breathed it. My husband, by the way, said that it was verified I was crazy. And I went, yeah, probably, And he said, but you're different. And I don't like the difference. And I just looked at him and I said, yeah, get over it. Because this is it. This is the way it is. He disarmed principalities on that cross. The enemy has no power over us because he did disarm all of those principalities. I mean, we really don't believe that. Because if we did, we would know the lies that are being spoken to us. We wouldn't grab a hold of the negative. We would believe that Jesus died for us in a miraculous day-to-day walk. In Mark 16:9, it tells of Mary Magdalene and going to the tomb to put the embalming oil on the Lord after he had died. And of course, the tomb was empty. But an angel told her he had risen, and go tell everyone. A little side note here, which I'm known for. Mary Magdalene was not a prostitute. I did a little bit of research years ago because someone spoke to me about that one time. And I thought, that just doesn't sound right. Because nowhere in the Gospels did I ever see that. And so I did some research, and the bottom line is Pope Gregory published a sermon in 604 giving legs to the misrepresentation that she was a prostitute. He also mentioned Mary of Bethany. She was the first one to see Jesus, and it probably just ruffled his feathers a bit. So back to Mary Magdalene. The first Easter, she must have been so excited seeing her Lord when he revealed himself to her. She needed to see one more time if it was all true and that he had really risen from the dead, that she wouldn't be able to find his body. So she went back. So in the encounter, one thing Jesus said to her was, "Don't touch me, Mary." Don't cleave to me is what they say, but it means touch. Don't touch me. And the reason was because he hadn't gone to the Father yet. He'd just spent 3 days in hell, gathered up the old saints, and they were walking in Jerusalem. Can you imagine being in that time? And, yo, Abraham, how are ya? Really, that's what it amounts to. So he hadn't gone to the Father yet, and he hadn't brought the saints back home. So that's what he meant when he said, "Don't touch me." And so she didn't. And then he told her to tell them that he was going to go, but that he would return. He would return. And that didn't mean 2,000 years. It meant in a short time, in a very short time. What he needed to do was go to the Father. And so he did. And it's during that time, if you read in John chapter 20, and you read in Daniel chapter 7, it's during that time that God deemed saints winner, enemy loser. He held court. Jesus presented himself with the blood that covered and atoned for us. Covered everything, that blood. Gave us life, gave us a different way to see, took us out of this world, so we're not a part of this world. Yeah, we're in it, but it's not our home. We live between the kingdom and this way. But it's getting that kingdom living is a little bit more tangible than it was years ago. He's going to come back. Death was destroyed when he rose from the dead. Satan has been lying to us. He has no authority. Jesus did that on the cross. If you are a believer, he does not have dominion over you. Demons lose, saints win. He was my atonement. I now have full access to the Father because of Jesus and the blood he shed. Church, we need to take on an ascended lifestyle. Jesus did it. And we're co-heirs with him, right? So if Jesus can sit at the right hand of the Father, I want to. Yeah, I want to. I know. This is a stretch of the imagination here. But it's okay. Just go with me. So I was thinking one day what it would be like to enter the Holy of Holies, the throne room. And that it's described in Revelations 4, that throne room. One of the things it talks about is all these angels that are in this throne room. And someone had to have been a mathematician, decided he was going to figure out by what it said how many angels actually were there. Well, it says over 10 million in the throne room praising the Ancient of Days. Is that big or what? So it gives a picture of the throne room where the Ancient of Days, our Father, sits on the throne, with Jesus sitting at the right of him. So, now come on, you guys, just flow with me here. I'm just going to give you a little impartation of, it could be my imagination, but I really do believe I was there. I had not intended to go there, but I sat during my worship and thought to myself, wouldn't it be wonderful to be in the throne room? And just started to imagine what it would be like, you know, kind of looking at all the 24 elders laying prone before the throne, and all the angels singing, and all of those beasts with all the different eyes all over the place. And, you know, wouldn't that be fascinating? I mean, if heaven is going to be my home, I want to get the lay of the land. You know, really. I want to know when he says go to the throne room where it's going to be. So I imagined myself there. But the interesting part of this story was when I imagined myself there, it was light out. The day was light. When I came back from that imagination, it was dark. And there had been like 3 hours that had passed. And I went, ooh. And I didn't say anything to anybody. I didn't even think about it myself because it was a little scary. But it was real. And the light that permeated me from that throne room was amazing. Was just unexplainable. I think Mona has the next part.
I'm sorry.
Oh, don't be. This has been a great day. I love it. They're a mess up here. The Spirit of God is so heavy. This church is birthing something. This church, the thing that spoke of in Isaiah 61, the very last part of that scripture is he gives joy to the mourning. To those that mourn, he gives joy. But the significant part that I've never seen before until I saw it today, the day that I was preparing for this, it was that we're going to speak to the nations. The nations are going to hear this truth about Jesus. The full grace message spoken to a nation, and that nation being set free from being held captive, free from the broken heart that they've carried and not known that there was anything different to hope for or to believe for. It's coming my way. If you have a broken heart, I want you to know it doesn't have to stay broken. If you have an area in your life that you're held captive, you don't have to stay there. The day that I recognized that I was being held captive, I heard this clink, and I thought, oh no, the boys are being trouble, you know. So I got up to check on them, and they were still asleep. So I walked down the hall to see what was going on, because it was real, people, it was real. And there was nothing. Dog was outside. Everything was in its place. And all I heard was, come out. Come out. And I just fell on the floor and went, I'm out. I just did that in faith because I didn't know where I was to come out from. But I knew I needed to come out because that's what the voice said. So I know that if you're being held captive, you don't need to know a whole bunch about it. You don't need to know why. You don't have to have a fundamental reason as to what brought you into that circumstance. Flat out doesn't matter. He just wants to set you free. Well, I already did that. There goes that. Well, I've said a lot, haven't I? So this journey has been up and down, but I now know when I am in the valley, I just keep walking until I reach the mountaintop. One thing I need to emphasize is during that journey, I have never been alone. It has not been a solo journey. He has always been there with me. Where are you in your journey? Are you being held captive? Everything can be changed in the blink of an eye. Did for me, and I knew nothing. I was different. When I was growing up, I was very quiet. I know you're not going to believe me. I was the bookworm. I never said anything. I snuck around because I didn't want to be seen, didn't want to be noticed. I don't know that I thought that, but I was just quiet. My sister was the one that used her hands all the time. And when I got saved, he didn't heal my heart. He gave me a new one. He did. It changed me. But what it changed me to was something that should have always been. It was the heartbreak of a little girl being abused and neglected that gave a different personality to the one that was the adult. He gave me a new heart and transformed who I was. And now I'm this flighty, happy person, laughing all the time. Actually, people say, get serious. Nah, been there, done that. No reason to get serious. He did it all. I don't need to be serious. I can be happy. Happy, happy, happy. We have been made kingdom of priests. I was telling the prayer room this morning that he told me this morning that I was a priest. Yeah, I don't have the collar. And when I was a little girl, I can remember telling Father Murphy, what do you want to do when you grow up, Evelyn Ann? And I said, oh, I want to be a priest. And he would chuckle, delightful man, but he never took me seriously. How can you take an 8-year-old little girl that wants to be a priest? And he said, you can't do that. And I said, why? Well, if you want to go into service for the Lord, you just have to be a nun. Yeah, that's not going to work because I'm going to have some babies. And I don't think they can have babies. Can they have babies? So I just looked at him and I said, well, that's not fair. And he looked at me and he said, 'tis the way of the land. And I just went, okay. So all those years. So now do you see the significance of him telling me, I'm a priest. You're a priest. You're a priest. Yeah. I mean, that's a big deal. Do you know what priests do? They facilitate the words of the Lord. That's what priests do. They speak hope to the hopeless. They give a hope where there is none. They give reality a kick in the, excuse the French, butt, and show the truth about Jesus. That's what a priest does. We're all priests. We all have that voice within us that he's given us to speak that truth to the one that needs to hear it. And that's what we're doing in the purge. You know, that's what we're doing and what we're going to do in Yelm. You know, we're going to give them hope. You know, our voice is going to speak what Jesus wants us because he has a plan, people. He's got a really big plan. I have no idea what it is, but I'm ready to go with it because I have figured out his plan is much more organized than mine, and I'm going with it. So in Colossians 3:1, this is it. We are raised with Christ. It is because of him we live this day and always. He broke that death thing. We may die, but we're going to live with you. Never move from the cross. It's our focal point. It's what gives us that belief that God is who he says he is. Yeah, guys.